This conference will now be recorded.
So we can see the machine which we created yesterday. What we did was we simply installed CentOS on that, and we said, okay, one boot, only one hard drive, which is lab.vdi, and you can see it is around 1.4 GB used because yesterday we did a minimal install inside it. So now we will be playing around with file system. So for file system, what we do, we add one more disk to it, right, to make you understand how things work. So in our Hadoop also, what we do is we have multiple disks on data node, maybe 40 disks per data node, and some disks will be dedicated data disks, other will be maybe a log disk or zookeeper dedicated disk, right, or a journal node, name node dedicated disk, because all are IO intensive operations. So we give them a separate disk. So here what we do, I go to storage section, I click here, I select the controller, I say add, right. I can either add a controller if I want, or I can simply select here and add a drive or hard drive to it, right. So let me add a hard drive, right? So I'm adding hard drive, not optical drive. So I select hard drive, create a new one. I say VDI, same option, dynamically allocated. Again, we will give it the name 2 GB, 8 GB disk, and I will give it a name, let's say lab disk 1. So this name is just for our identification from the base operating system, means from the Windows operating system if you want to identify. So we are identifying using that. So I say create. So one disk has been created, right? Lab disk 1. So let's create one more because I will explain you few things which will be more clear. So let's say I say disk 2 and I say create. So now we have 3 disks. One disk from yesterday where we have installed OS, and other 2 disks we are just adding new, each one of 8 GB. I say okay, and I click, I say normal start. So there are options of normal start, headless start. So what is the difference? If I do a normal start, you will see this window popping out, right? If I don't want this window popping out, I can do a headless start. Then it will not show me this screen, it runs in the background. So let it run. The IP yesterday we got was 99. So I will connect from putty, right? I will change to 99 and I will connect from here. Let it boot. It's starting. Okay, let me just reconnect because my node system was not up when I was trying to connect. So now you can see it is up. I give a password and I can connect. So now I'm connected to the same machine which we created yesterday. If I do df-h, it will only show me one disk which we created yesterday and installed OS. There is no concept of any other disk other than SDA. Right, SDA is the, as I said, SDA is the first disk, B will be the second, C will be the third disk. So how I know if there are other disks? I will do fdisk -l. L means list. So here you can see there is one disk, right? So let me just quickly show it in a grab, right? If I do this, you can see I have SDA which we created yesterday, installed OS. Another two which we created now today only, SDB and SDC, right? So let me just give like this. So here you can see there is a disk called SDA which has 2 partitions on which Linux is installed. Other two, it's telling me the size but it is not telling me anything about the partitions because it's a raw disk. Raw disk means there's no file system on it. So let's create a file system. So how we create a file system? Fdisk slash the device name sdb. So be careful you do not give sda again, right? If you are not sure, as I'm saying, I'm assuming you all are new Linux users, so just be careful you don't give the disk which is running OS. You give another disk, hit enter. I remember the commands, but if you don't remember the commands, let's say you can press M here, it will tell you what options this command takes, right? If I want to, let's say, create a new partition, I will use N. Here you can see N, create a new partition, D to delete a partition, right? P means I can print the partition table, right? So if I say P here, it will not show me anything on that disk SDB because it's the new disk we just created. There's no partition on it. So I press N here. Let me clear the screen. N. So it is asking me what kind of partition you want. Primary partition or an extended partition, right? I can create 4 primary partitions, as you know, right? Which is a standard thing in Windows and any other operating system. So 4 primary partitions, and I can create Linux multiple as many as I want extended partitions, right? But in the case of Windows, I can only create partitions till the number of device letters I have, right? So AB is allocated to your floppy disk. One will be allocated, let's say, to your DVD. So out of 26, you are left with only 23 letters. So you can have only 23 total partitions, right? But in newer versions of Windows, like Windows 2000 and T, after that, Windows 10, I can give other combination names. It doesn't need to be C colon, D colon, E colon. I can give a name like, let's say, Power1 also to a drive. But okay, we are not talking about Windows. So here I will say P. The default is, you can see the selected option is P. Even if I don't give any option, it will create a primary, right? What will be the partition number? 1 to 4 I can give any. If I don't give default, it will take 1. Hit enter. What is the default starting sector? Means, let's say I have a 8 GB disk, where you want the partition to start. So in our case, it's a new disk, and also this disk is a virtual disk. It's not a physical disk. So the chances of a disk being corrupt are very low. But in actual system, what happens in the old days, when we used to create a disk, let's say disk is of 250 GB, and that disk was old or got corrupted, and few starting sectors were bad. So I can skip those sectors, right? I will do a FSCK on that and other disk tools to find out the bad sectors, and I will know where the bad sector reside, and then I can skip those bad sectors. But in our case, all is good. We say start from the very first possible. So here I can give size like this. I can say plus 8 GB, 8 MB, 8 KB, right? How big you want the disk to be. If you don't give any number, it will create the maximum partition possible. Means the entire disk it will take and create the partition, right? So it's saying 8 GB size is set, right? So I'm saying maximum possible because this tool we are using is Fdisk. So Fdisk by default has a limitation of 2 terabyte partition, right? So it will not create any partition bigger than 2 terabyte. For that, I have to use a tool called partd, which is also available in Linux, but we are not touching that. So I say W. W means write commit. So if I quit from here, then right, let me press the print option M. There's a Q also, quit without saving. If I press a Q here, it will come to the default state. But if I want to write it, I press W. Right. So now if I again run that fdisk command, you will see now SDB1 has been created for you. right? So now SDB1, let me try to mount it. Mount is a way of bringing a device into the Linux file system. So presently what we have done, I have created a disk, taken a disk, partitioned it, and it is called SDB1. And if I try to mount it, mount means you make that device part of a Linux file system. So mount command is used for that. So I say mount it to MMT, right? So it will give me error. Okay. So let me unmount because I think CD is mounted there. Okay. So now if I'm trying to mount it, it's giving me error. Null file system, unknown file system error, because it is not able to find what is the file system on it. Anyway, because we have not created the file system. So now what we do is we will create a file system on SDB1. So what file system I will create? MKFS means make file system. Which file system? Dot. If I press tab, I can create so many file systems. BTRFS, Ext2, Ext3, Ext4, XFS. Right? All these are file system types. Ext2 is obsolete now. Ext3, okay, still valid, but Ext4 is the recommended file system format, because it has improvements over Ext3 in terms of how it accesses, right? The delayed access, the blocking concepts and all. So it has a better IO utilization and better access pattern than Ext3. So difference between Ext2 and Ext3 is Ext2 is a non-journal file system, right? Journal, JOURNAL, journaling file system means in Ext2, whatever I write, it's directly written to the file system. It's directly committed to a file system, and if let's say a power goes off, I may result in a end up in a situation where my file is corrupt or metadata is corrupt and I cannot replay it. So instead of that, there's a concept called let's build a journal on it. So you write in journal, and if something goes bad, I can replay that journal, so I can recover from failures. So Ext3 is the file system from which journal was introduced. Ext4 by default has journal. Ext3 also by default has journal. So as you guys are not aware of the old word, so there is an option. I can create a file system without a journal and later on use -j option to add a journal to the file system. But we will simply assume Ext4 as our recommended file system. I hit enter. So it has created a file system for me on that, right? It told me it has these many inodes, these many blocks it has, right? Everything, right? So 5% by default it reserves for your super user. Super user means root user. So let's say your disk is 8 GB. So 5% it will reserve for it. So 5% of 8 GB is not big, but let's say you have a 1 terabyte disk. 5% of that disk could be a significant number, right? It could be, I think, 50 GB or 5 GB. Right? Let me pull up a calculator. So if we have a 1 TB disk and 5%, 1% of that is 100 GB. Okay, yeah, okay, yeah, that's correct. So it will be a significant number. So the bigger the disk, 5% value will be a significant number in that. So you can remove that 5% reservation by using a command called tune to fs, tune to fs -m0 on that, right? So now it has removed the reserved blocks to 0%. So your entire disk is available. So in any of your systems, when you use your data disk, we will execute this command so that we are not having any reserve space. Your entire disk is used, right? So 1 terabyte, 5% of 1 terabyte will be a significant number. Let's say you have 20 disks in a system, each of 1 terabyte. 20 terabyte, 5% of 20 terabyte is a significant number. So I will zero that. So there's no reserved space. The entire disk is used. So now let's mount it now. Let's try to mount it now. See, it mounted. So now if I go df-h, you will see it is showing me an entry here. Right? It is mounted in mnt. lsl/mnt. So loss found is a folder which is created whenever you format a file system. So it's a directory where your corrupt blocks will be collected. Whenever you run a FSCK, means file system check, any corrupt or bad blocks will be moved to loss plus found area. Right? You can remove that. So I have a new disk where I can write. So now here, if we look here, although if looking at the first, you may think mnt is a folder just sitting like how dev, run and boot are, but if you look here on the left hand side, it's a separate mount point. So how you can be sure? You execute the command called mount. So when you execute the mount command, it will tell you all separate mount points. It is not talking you about folders, it is talking about mount points. So we created a dev device as db1. It is telling me file system type is ext4. It is mounted at mnt. It is read write file system. It is data is ordered, and it is having some permissions. I can set that, right? So what is happening is now this disk is mounted. So let me unmount it. Unmounted means that disk is removed from the file system of Linux. So now if I do df-h, it will not show me. So now the thing is, every time I want to use that disk, I have to execute this mount command, right? Not a big task, but sometimes what happens, there might be some applications which might be dependent upon some path. Let's say you have an application which boots from or has some startup from mnt path, some data, some binary, something, right? Then it will not start up automatically unless that is mounted. So how you can get rid of this issue? That whenever your system starts up, it automatically mounts it. So there's a file called vi in etc fs tab. There's a file called etc fs tab, file system tab. Here I can make an entry. What entry? dev/sdb1. Where it should be mounted? It should be mounted in /mnt. What is the file system type? ext4. What are the mount options? Defaults, right? When it should run file system checks. After how many times? All those values mean those, right? So here default means it is read write, it is async, and it has a time enabled and all that. So let's say in Hadoop, I can give option like no A time. You might have seen common, right? So we give, let's say, an option called no A time. So what actually it means, this file system, when it is given to a data node, anything which is written here does not update any timestamps for that. So we do with special mount options. So it's good that you read, right? It's a kind of a homework. It's good. If you have any question, you can come back to me. So it's good to read about ext3 and ext4 differences. What are the options I can give here, right? What does default mean here, right? So what is the significance of this default? What all values it can take? So I can do a man if I don't know anything of any option. I can execute man and that particular command. It will tell me that particular option. I can set up umask I can set up a size, a lot of things here, right, in the mount option. Right, for example, this default, if I don't give defaults, default consists of something like read write, right? Defaults is equal to read write, comma, exec means I can execute binaries from this file system. It is async means whatever I write will be asynchronously synced to the disk. I can have, who can mount this? No user. No user means only a super user can mount it, right? So for example, these all options will be set. In addition to that, there will be other option like SUID and all. So either I write default or I write all these keywords. So instead of typing so many keywords, we simply write defaults. But if you want to change anything inside the defaults, I can give it here in addition to that, right? For example, no A time, real time, or anything, I can give it here, right? So I save it, and now if I do mount option, see, I don't have that mount point coming. SDA is coming, but there's no SDB. So I can say mount hyphen A. So it means it will remount it. Mount hyphen A means it will go back, read that etcfs tab file, and mount the file system back. So if I do mount command again, I will start seeing that. Right. So this is how we are mounting it. So you can mount it anywhere. So you can mount a directory to any point. So I can say, let's say mkdir / data. I create a directory called data. So by default, this data directory is simply a directory under / file system. If you look here, it's simply a directory under a file system. If I do mount, I do not see anything for data. Mount pipe grep data, right? I do not see any mount point with the name data. So I can mount that, unmount from MNT, and I can mount that some other place as well. Dev sdb1 / data. Right? Now you can see it will be available at that data mount point. Right? So it's a separate mount point, separate directory. So in Linux, home directories will be separate mount point. Your log files will be, log location will be separate mount points. Any any specific application you install will have a dedicated disk mount point for it. Let's say a MySQL, maybe it could be Oracle, right? Under OPT, it's separate mount point. In Hadoop, as you are aware, we'll be creating a separate mount point for Zookeeper, your data nodes, your journal nodes, right? Dedicated disks. That's why we say for logs as well. So this is how we do that. So I can also do multiple mounts. Multiple mounts means I can unmount from data. I can simply by default say mount hyphen A. So it is mounted at SDB MNT. I can mount the same partition at two places. One / data. If I give it like this, it will give me an error. Right? Error means like it is not visible directly here, but when I'm trying to write data, it will show me that issue. Right? See, I executed that command mount dev sdb1 / data, but it is not showing me that mount here. It is only showing me the first mount which we did by default. Whichever mount I do the first, it will show me only that. So I can use -- bind option as well. Yeah. Ah. Mount field not a directory. Slash data. Okay, just let me check. Mount -unt help. Okay. I will check on this. What is happening here? Why this option is not working? But okay. Anyway, in production, we will not be using that option bind to, because it will be accessible from 2 points for write. But yes, that option is there. So I will say unmount slash mnt mount -a. So now fdisk -l. So I have sdb. So similarly, there's one more disk left, sdc. So let's quickly create sdc also. So I will execute the same steps there. New partition, primary partition, first partition, default size, commit, and then I will say let's mkfs dot ext4. Right, so it has created that file system, and now I can mount this at data. Right, so now I have, see, 2 mount points. This is what we are doing, creating a file system and mounting it. You cannot mount without a file system. So now you can write 8 GB data here, and rest 8 GB in total in the first disk. So this is what our formatting and file system says, right? So read about ext3, ext4 difference, fs tab difference, what it does, right? So I have told you mount option as well. So now let's look at yum repository setup. So yesterday I told you that ns lookup, all these commands were not available, and I said yum install, let's say vim. I'm giving an example. Vim is an editor. I'm installing that. So it's going to internet, downloading packages for me and installing it. Every time it is going to the internet. So it's not possible that you will have access to the internet, and also within a company you will not, all the systems cannot go outside to the internet to update any packages. They will be provided from a central repository. So you will configure your own repo server, right? So I have a lot of repo servers, a very big repo servers running, but let me just start them and show you an example what I mean by that, and I will tell you how to configure that. Right, so let it start in the meanwhile, and I will explain you this. So what is happening in this case? So when I'm executing this yum install command, what it is doing is it is going to this directory yum.repos, and there are some files which come default with the operating system. It is reading these files, going to the locations which is mentioned in these files to download the packages. So let's say vi CentOS base. I open this file. So you can see it is going to a site, mirror CentOS site, where we have downloaded our ISO from, right? It's going to those paths, packages, and I can download all those packages, right? So if I want to avoid that, what I can do is I can download whatever all the packages which are available at these locations to my local system, so that if I need it, I can use it in later on. So how we do that? So remember these names what are given here. You can give any name you want. You can give Pawan or any name here, Aman, whatever you want, but these names should be unique across files. So if I'm saying base here, I cannot use base again in this file or any other file under that directory. So these names are unique. So let's say I want to, let me take you a smaller one. Extras is the smallest repository. So I want to download all the packages which are under extras repo, right? So what I will do, obviously, I will go to a place where I have space. Let's say cd/data. So this is around 8 GB. So I can download it here. So how will I do? I will do repo sync, right? Repo sync command is not there. How repo sync command will come? Yum install yum -utils. I will install yum utils package. So it gives me a command repo sync -r recursively, which directory? Extras. So I have to give the exact same name which is in the file. So names, valid names are extra base updates, right? So updates and base I will not use because those are very big directories. It will take very long time for me to download, like our entire time of the class will go in there. So I will show you just quickly for extra. I hit enter. So what it will do, extras, I think, yeah. So it looked into this, see 385 packages are there. So it will download all those packages in the current directory where I have executed the command. So obviously you should have some space where you execute. So that's why I changed to /data and executed that command. It downloads all the packages in that particular directory. So I will do this for all other directories. Let's say base updates. So it's downloading. So let me connect to another machine which I have. '98. Okay. Right, so let me show you a few of my other machines. Right, so this is my another repo server which is already running. Host name is repo server.dilithium.com. Here you will see cat/etc yum.repos. In this I have, let's say, server.repo. You don't see any files which I was showing you. I removed that file. There's a file called server.repo, and I'm pointing those files to my local machines, and I have created those repos locally. JDK, updates, extras, CentOS, everything. Where any path, ls/, in my case I'm using FTP, but you can use HTTP, whatever you want. Here you would go. See, I have CentOS packages here, extras, updates downloaded. See all these packages. Or I have other packages for Nagios, Puppet, Hortonworks, Hadoop packages, so many things, right? So let me connect to the another machine. Okay. right? See, it downloaded all these packages. So now it will create a directory by that name, extras, packages. See, all those packages are there. So I will execute that command for 3 packages, right? 3 packages. So now remember the name of the machine. It's lab.netzilon.com. Right? Let me minimize it. Right? I've already downloaded this. So I'm going on a machine called repo76.netzilon.com, means repository server of CentOS 7.6. So I've given a name like that. Where I've downloaded everything, where FTP pub, here under repo I have downloaded all. Let's say if I go to base, here you will see so many packages I have downloaded. It has, I think, 10,000 packages, the base one. Okay, the listing will be very long. Let me do wc-l. Yeah, still it will take very long time. So it is a lot of packages, right? So let me show some other one, updates. Right, so all packages are there. So now my intent is, what I should be doing, that the other machine, right, which we have, lab machine, right, this is my lab machine, cd/etc yum.repos. I go here and I empty this. Let's say rm-rf. I remove all this, right? So now if I do something here, yum install, let's say bind, I'm just giving an example, it will not do, because I have deleted all those files. It has no way of knowing where to fetch bind from. So now our intent is, now this system should not go to internet, but it should go to my other machine where I have downloaded all the packages, and whenever I do yum install bind, it is able to find a package from the other machine, right? So that's our intent. So how we do that? cd/where ftp pub repo. So I've downloaded all 4 packages by executing repo sync sys, right? I executed these 3 commands: repo sync extras, repo sync base, repo sync updates. So it went to each one of those, downloaded all the packages into respective folders at path, some mount point path, which has some space. It's a 30 GB partition I've created, 30 GB disk I've created, right? So around 18 GB is used for all these packages. So I've downloaded it. So now my intent is to create a repository. So how will we do that? So there's a command called create repo -v, means verbose. It's not mandatory, but if I don't give -v, it will not display me anything on the screen what it is doing. So I will say -v verbose, so it is telling me what it is doing on the screen. Let's say base, right? I hit enter. So what it will do, it will go to that base folder, it will read each package and create an XML file. So as simply, it will create an index of all the packages, put into an XML file with the version number and all that. So when I do a yum repo, it will quickly look into that XML file to find a particular matching package. So let it just install, or let it just create that repo. So it will take some time, 10,000 packages. Anyway, we have not given much RAM and only 1 GB, and also disks are dynamic, that's why it's slow. Otherwise the operation is not that slow. It can quickly go through, fly through this. So let's say tomorrow you download Java packages, JDK packages, or any other packages which is not part of this default DVD or distribution. What you can do is you can create another folder, put all the packages in that, and execute this command on it, that folder. So it will create a index for it. Okay, yeah, Pawan. So what we have done is, see, the first step which we have done here is, okay, for adding JDK. See, whenever you download any package, let's say JDK, Python, or anything extra which is not part of the DVD or the distro. So what you do is, as you have seen here, what we have done, we are downloading, creating a folder for that. So I can create a folder mkdir, let's say folder called JDK. I will put all my JDK packages inside this directory, inside that JDK directory. And what I will do, I will say create repo -v on that JDK folder. So it will create an index of all the packages in that directory. Right, so we will be executing this create repo per directory. So okay, so it has finished, created some DB. So now let's create a repo on extras as well. It will be very quick, not many full packages here. Okay, and similarly we'll do for updates as well. So each package will be for two versions, X86 and i386. So in our case, our Intel based system and all, we use only X86. So I can, if you are having issues with space and all, I can remove all the packages which has i686 extension, all the packages. So I will just be left with X86 packages. Just few more minutes. Okay, in the meanwhile this is going on, let me tell you one more thing. So whenever we install any system which is Red Hat based, when I say Red Hat, it means CentOS as well. So it has firewall enabled, means IP tables will be enabled. So I will not be able to do anything other than SSH to that node, right? So again, if you are a networking guy, not a problem, you can open particular ports. But if you are not, best is you can do flush here, or you can do sys system ctl disable firewall d, right? And I can stop as well. So now, right, it's empty. So now any port or service can be connected, whichever is up. So there is no firewall blocking. First thing, right? You have to disable the firewall in CentOS Red Hat. In production, we will not disable. We will enable explicit ports for each service. Let's say if I'm running a web server, I will just allow port 80 or 443. If I'm running, let's say, a SSH server, which will be common in all machines, by default it is allowed port 22, or any of the Hadoop services, I will open those particular ports. The rest will be blocked. Second thing which I have to do is I have to disable SC Linux, which is security enhanced Linux. So if I do get enforce command here, it will tell me enforcing. So what happens here is ls-z, if I give here, you will see there's a permission. If I do ls-l, it's showing me some permission, which I explained you yesterday. Directory, then 3 for each owner, group, and others. Then the size, then the link, hard links, who is the owner, the group, the size, and the date, timestamp, right? But if I do another command called Z, which is extended attributes, it is telling me see some another different permissions as well. So this is SC Linux. This is the second level of security which is enabled in Red Hat CentOS based systems. Again, SC Linux is again itself is a separate certification exam itself, right? If you are planning to learn this, this is an exam by itself called SC Linux professional exam. So again, a topic by itself. But what we do in production, SC Linux we disable unless and until it is a it is kind of a very specific defense or a military system where there we are forced to enable it. Then it's a very tedious task. Then you have to write SC Linux policies for each service which you put in, right? But in production, most places, 99% places, this will be disabled. So how we disable? Vi etc SC Linux config folder, config file, sorry, not folder. So here what I will say, I don't need to remember. See the options: enforcing, permitting, disabled. So I will say disabled. I will say disabled. So what will happen now? I will reboot it. But before that, what I will do is I will touch an empty file at root file system. What root file system? I will give a name. Dot means it's a hidden file. I will say auto relabel. So what it is doing is it will relabel the file system. So I say init 6. I'm rebooting it. So let it reboot and come back. In the meanwhile, let's go to another system. So this thing is done. So now let me show you what difference it has made. See, it has created a folder called repo data in each of the directories. When I ran that command repo create, so it's simply a XML file, and see all these file lists, other primary, all this, it creates a SQLite database kind of a thing, which it quickly queries, right? And XML is the index. So now what I will do, I will create a file. What file? If config, what's the IP? 98 of this machine. right? So how will I write it? Let the machine come back. So this is the machine which we rebooted, host name. And now I say get enforce. Now it should come disabled. It is disabled now. My SLNX is disabled. My firewall is disabled. IP tables -L I do. It is coming blank because we have disabled. It did not start. So we are good. So now what we do? /etc yum.repo ls-l. See, it's empty. This is the same machine where we were doing yum install some package name. It was going to internet and fetching. So now what we are doing, we will create a file. Any file, does not matter what name it has. Only the extension should be repo. .repo should be the extension. Name can be anything. I create a file. I can give any name. What name? Let's say I called it as server. But this name should be unique. I give it some name description, looking at which I can tell what repo it is. 7.6 base repository. Okay. Then I say base URL. Where is the base URL? FTP is the server of the other machine. 192.168.1.98 is the IP. /pub/repo/base is the path. Enable enable is equal to 1, means this repository is enabled. GPG check is equal to 0. Do I want to verify the signatures of each packages? I'm saying no. So I save it. Just check. Let's check this first. So the path I'm giving till is pub repo base. You're giving the path till the location where your repo folder sits. Where your repo folder sits? See, till it sits till this path. See, under base, and I'm presently sitting at this pwd. So I'm giving /pub because it's an FTP server. I don't need to give this path, right? I'm giving an IP of this machine, which is 698, and I'm saying anything after pub, which is after FTP, pub repo. Let me start the FTP server on the other side, right? I've started FTP server, right? So FTP server is not, I'm running not a simple FTP server, I'm running a VSFTP, very secure FTP server, but HTTP is common one. I will show you that when we do HTTP server, but for the time being, we are using FTP as the rep. So I save it. So now I say yum clean all. So I'm cleaning any cache for yum on that node. So I say yum list. See, it found something. See, it started finding that packages. So this is not going to internet. Now it is going to the other machine. So now if I say yum install bind, which was failing initially, now you can see it is fetching that. Right? It will be fetching that. So yum list. So presently I have added only one, so I can add other also here. So I can simply copy this 1 2 3 4 5 line 5 yy, and I say p, so it copies it. So I will put up another name instead of server. Let me say it, let's say extra. So this is extra repo. The path is, everything is same, only extra changes. Extra, extra or extras, it was extras, it was right. So now, so I say yum list pipe grep extra, right? So you can see it will also see, it is telling me a particular package is coming from which repo, extra repo or server repo. So this way we have added a repository. Very important thing, which is your day-to-day admin's task. You should be able to create these repos, provide them with signature and all. So this is a very basic one, right? Here you will have a concept of adding GPG key path to the file as well, and you can secure it. And this could be over HTTPS as well. Okay, now the another topic which you have to do is passphraseless access, right? Passphraseless access, what does it mean? Okay, before that, as I explained you, see all these packages which we are talking about on our system, how we name, you name -a. If I do, you can see my system is x86-64 based, right? Kernel version is this, right here. If I give a, it is telling me the kernel version. So I don't need any packages which is with i686. I can only survive with all the packages which are x86. So I can go to this repo, let's say extra, and grab for i8686, and I can delete all these packages. Well, this does not have, base will have. Okay, it's taking time. Let's do the other one, which is passphraseless access. So what do we mean by passphraseless access? So let's say I'm sitting on this server which is repo 76 hostname, and I want to connect to SSH. I want to connect to the other machine 192.168.1.99. So it is prompting me saying, are you sure you want to connect to that machine? If the identity of that machine is something, it's giving you a fingerprint. I say yes. It is prompting me for a password. Right? I exit. Again I connect it. It again prompts me for a password. So this could be tedious in production because every time it is prompting me for password, because I might be doing some automated task or some script which connects to nodes and does some operation. So I can create passphraseless access, means it does not prompt me for any passphrase or a password to connect to that node, right? So now it's prompting of me for password, so it should not do that. How we do that? So the any node, first node where I want to connect from, I will use a command ssh keygen -t RSA is the algorithm. Right, any file path it is asking where you should store the key. By default it will be ID RSA. You don't need to enter any passphrase. Hit enter, keep on hitting enter. So what it does, it creates .ssh folder with ID underscore RSA and ID underscore RSA .pub. So what it does, this is the public key, this is the private key. So what I will do, I will note down this public key and copy this to the other node. Either I can copy it like this, go to the other node, create an authorized file, or simple thing what I can do is I can simply do ssh hyphen copy id hyphen I 192.168.1.99. This is 99 or 98, which is this node? Let me just sure. Okay. So it prompts me for password. Right? So it's saying number of keys added 1. So actually what it did was, if I go to the other node, ls-l.ssh, it created a file called authorized keys automatically on the other node with the same signature. Right, let me minimize it. This is my 98 machine, this is my 99 IP machine. Right, so if I do a cat here, see, these, look at these signatures are same. Look at this last word here. Right, look at here. So now when I connect from this node back, say, do the same thing which I was doing initially, I will not be prompted for password. Right, see, I'm not prompted for password because it, now the key which we have set up, private and public key, it is doing a key exchange for our communication, and also the channel is encrypted. Right, in the first case, when I'm entering a password, my password is going across on a wire, but here my password is not going. It is securing the channel also between two nodes. Okay, I think that's good enough for today. I think we have done everything in this one. I will tell you all this maybe tomorrow and then logging. Okay, I think 2 more classes will take, then we will end this. Okay guys, so any question you have, otherwise we will close this. Recording, okay. So what I've done is I've uploaded on my YouTube channel. The yesterday one also, today one also I will upload, right? So if you go to my YouTube channel, let me connect to my YouTube channel. So if you want to download, that's a different case. I can share you the link. And if you go here, so see, you can see here, I've uploaded the video. So other videos are there which you are already aware of, but this one I have now uploaded yesterday in my YouTube channel. So you can take there. Okay, question is, what will happen if SDA is assigned again? SDA cannot be assigned again, right? Because what will happen is ls-l/dev the device naming convention is like that, right? So each device is unique. If we go into dev, right, so you will have SDA1 once it is partitioned, B, C, like this, right? Like all these will be different, and you will have a different controller again on that, right? So I cannot have two SDA again, right? It will be only once. So for example, in fdisk, if I by mistake, if I do this, right, fdisk -l, right, so I take, let's say, /dev/sda, right? So the first thing is you should do p here to see, print and see what it has. So it has Linux. Star means it's a bootable partition. So it's a bootable partition, the first one, which is /boot, and other one is a Linux LVM, right? So if I do here df-h, you can see this is one it is talking about, bootable partition. So if I go here, right, I say p, and let's say if I say d, I want to delete, let's say, first one or second one, right? 2 is deleted. Let's say I say delete, what I want, delete 1, right? Sorry, 1 is also deleted, right? If I say p, you see my everything is gone. But if I quit, it is fine. Everything is like that only. It's still in the memory. But the moment I hit right there, then it's gone. Right? My system will crash. But your A cannot be reassigned again. This is all hardware based things. SDA cannot be reassigned. It will only one, there will be only one SDA in the system. Okay, Pawan. So yes, I will share the recording with you guys.